Welcome, everybody. This is Thomas John with Your Views and My Facts. With me in the podcast studio, I have Will, and we are going to be doing a short little interview for everybody to get to know him. So if you've enjoyed what you've heard from him on what he said on various other topics or whatnot, and you just want to kind of know a little bit of his background, this is what we're going to get into. So we're going to do a short little interview with him and let him explain his life away for all the ladies out there. Or men, I don't care which way you swing. I'm not swinging that way, though. He might, maybe he'll answer that later. We'll see. Will, hello, welcome.
Hello. I've never been interviewed before, so let's see how this goes.
It should be real interesting. How old are you?
23.
When's your birthday?
January 14th.
What sign is that?
It's a Capricorn, but I don't really follow any of that shit or anything like that.
Either do I. I'm just, again, for the ladies out there.
You think the stars tell, things about a person?
They might. I mean, from what I understand, they get along with Aries pretty well. I actually have no idea, but I'm an Aries. So
Okay. I was about to say, I don't know anyone that's an Aries, but...
All right. So where were you born?
So I was born on Long Island in a town called Port Jefferson, but I grew up in a town called Shirley, which is like, for anyone that's unfamiliar with Long Island, it's more out east in Suffolk County, and it's like kind of in the middle of Suffolk County-ish, towards the South Shore.
Where is the Statue of Liberty located?
Man, I'm not like from the city, man, but no, it's just in New York, like New York Harbor, I want to say.
But I guess my question is it considered part of Long Island?
No, it's considered part of New York. Statue of Liberty would just be New York. You would just say New York, New York.
Okay.
Because that's what, you look shit up. Like, and that's the thing too. Like you say New York, people are like, oh, he's from the city. Like, no, I lived like in the suburbs on Long Island. It's totally different. And like, if you were to meet somebody that's from the city, you tell me you're from Long Island, they're like, all right, like you're not from the real New York. Right.
And Long Island is the part that like juts out of the state of New York, though, right?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure. This is why I'm asking questions. People don't know.
Sure.
Maybe I don't know. Okay, and that's where you grew up for most of your life?
Yeah, until I was about, I think it was 15. I was removed from my house, per se.
Okay.
And then I went to go live with my grandfather in Florida, just north of Tampa.
Out of curiosity, do you care to elaborate on what you mean by moved out? Or you don't have to. I'm just...
Yeah, I got kicked out of my house.
Okay.
For being just kind of crazy and young.
Adolescent.
And, fighting and just being a little...
renegade.
Pretty much just not dealing well with authority and shit like that, and being just a little crazy little kid. Testosterone's flowing, you're 15 years old, you don't really know what's going on.
Okay, so your parents then said that you would be better off if you went to your grandparents then, or
my mom did. So my parents are divorced.
Okay.
Well, they were never actually married, so they're separated, I guess. They're not actually divorced. Yeah, so I live with my mom and my stepdad on Long Island. And after being in confrontations with my stepdad and stuff like that, my mom was like, "Look, this is an unhealthy position for you to be in. You shouldn't really be living here." It wasn't exactly spelled out like that, all nice and shit. It was more of like New Yorker, like fucking yelling and screaming and whatnot. But we had decided that it would be better for me to not be a part of that situation.
So how far away then were your... I know you mentioned the cities, but how far, I guess, away was the distance from your parents then to your grandparents?
Holy shit.
I mean, like, did you have to get up and completely change schools, change your friends?
Oh, yeah. Like, I had to move to Florida from New York. So,
you went to... All right.
Yeah. So this is kind of a crazy experience because I never saw myself being like the new kid at a school or something like that. But in all honesty, like that was like probably one of the best things that could have happened to me to get that experience. I didn't really like it at first, but I mean, it was awesome. Like after I got settled in and started figuring shit out by myself.
Okay, what were your thoughts? I guess going from... Again, I know you said the suburbs, but obviously you had the city life that I'm sure you could go at least see, even though that you were still younger.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts of going from that part of the East Coast then to the Panhandle, right, or I mean Florida being beaches?
See, it was so different because on Long Island, like we lived in, I wouldn't say it's like the super nice town or whatever, but it's not like the shittiest place either. But then when I moved to Florida, I lived with my grandfather, who is obviously old. So there's a lot of old people in Florida. I lived in the old person development. So you have to be, I think it's over 60 just to live in the development.
Okay.
And I'm like the only teenager, only young person that's even in this like development. So, it was interesting, and it's weird too because just the way things are spelled out, like in New York, you have like blocks with houses and all this kind of shit. Like in Florida, where I was living at, there's no real blocks. It's like these developments with like every house looks the same kind of shit.
Right.
And there's like cul-de-sacs and fucking gated communities, and it's weird.
Okay.
It was really weird.
If you had to choose to go back to one or the other, would you choose New York or Florida? And then why would you choose one or the other?
That's a bad question for any of my friends listening, because they're going to be like, my friends, they always give me shit. My friends from New York, to be like, you're not from here, you're from Florida. And then my friends from Florida be like, you're from New York, that kind of thing. I think I was happy with the decision, though. Like, if I could go back in time, I would not have stayed in New York. I would have moved to Florida. For sure.
Yeah, right now though. Like if you had to choose,
right now?
Yeah. If you had to go, if you had to say I can either go to New York or I could go to Florida. Now, granted, I get that you were a teenager at both those locations, but maybe just knowing what you know now about both states and quality of life and so forth. Yeah, if you had to say I want to go here because of X.
If I had to choose between those two, it would definitely not be New York. I mean, I go home to New York for like maybe a week, something like that, and it's so crazy seeing how people live there and how they are just as people.
Right.
And it's not like, I look back on it and I was like, I was that, like rude and just fucking a New Yorker, like it's weird. And then you go back and you see it and it's like, why the fuck are these people like this?
And that's even from the suburbs where you are. It's that.
Oh
it's
yeah,
that
like
same mentality.
like you're still like, people are still like that. Like in New York, you could be walking across, like walking down the street, and like you might be in this weird standoffish position with someone just staring at them.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really make sense. Like, we're here in California, like you look at someone might just be like, hey, like, hi, how are you? Like that kind of thing. Like, no, that shit doesn't happen in New York. So you have this weird standoffish, like trying to look into each other's soul kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
about
weird.
the battle. See, I guess I feel that, I spent a few years in Las Vegas. I grew up and was raised in Iowa though. But you've been to Vegas a few times.
I love Vegas.
So my thoughts on New York, probably more specifically New York City, right, is what I feel about like the Las Vegas Strip, is that you have this like, well, do you want to go back to this city lifestyle, or do you want to stay where you are, kind of in a more urban or suburban area? And for me, it's no, I'd easily go back to Las Vegas because the Strip is just one aspect, right? And that's where the tourists are, that's where you go to have fun. But the entire surrounding area is just like any other neighborhood. And I guess that's how I feel like maybe New York would be.
Well, yeah, you have your city, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not from the city; it's like the suburb area outside of it. It's totally different. Totally different. Like, it might as well be considered like two different states. The way how different the way of life is from New York City and where I lived in New York. It's that different.
I could see that. So to close out that question, you didn't necessarily say Florida, but you for sure said that you would not care to live in New York because of the, I'll say personalities.
Yeah, personalities. And it's fucking expensive to live in New York too.
I bet it is. I'm not a fan of the East Coast at all, so I would be right there with you. Growing up, what was your favorite sport that played? What was your favorite sport that you played?
Football.
What position did you play?
I played a little bit of tight end and wide receiver.
Okay. What attracted you to football?
I was always like the larger kid.
Okay.
And I don't really have much finesse and like being fast and shit like that. But when you play football and you're the bigger kid, you obviously have an advantage to where like I don't really need to have finesse. I could just kind of barrel through people and just play that way. As a kid, that's how it was growing up. Obviously, once I made it to be older and go to high school and shit, you level out the playing field and it becomes different. But yeah.
Okay, and how tall are you?
I'm 6'4".
And how much do you weigh, if you don't mind me asking?
Right now, I'm like 205, 207 in that range.
Okay. So I want to throw that out there, right, because that helps kind of build a picture, right, when you say, right, I mean, being a bigger kid, right, obviously you and if you're going to be a bigger person, right, as when you grow older, right, normally, yeah, then you were bigger as a younger child. So that's why I just wanted to throw it out there on that. Okay, this is maybe why you gravitated to one sport or the other. Hence, if you're taller, normally you kind of gravitate towards basketball. Or
like now that I'm where I'm at, I've definitely played more basketball than football. That's for sure.
Okay. All right. So the favorite sport you like to play was football as tight end and wide receiver.
Yes.
What's your favorite sport to watch?
My favorite sport to watch. It would definitely be a toss up between like NBA playoff basketball, not the regular season, and then any like mixed martial arts fighting event. That is probably the most exciting for me, watching mixed martial arts.
Because of the potential, I'll say knockouts or bloodshed or I mean the way that they are actually, I mean, it's mano a mano, sort of like wrestling, like, hey, this is me versus you. There is nothing else.
I see it like it's like a modern day. It's a close thing we have to like a gladiator. It's the closest thing we have to a gladiator.
Okay.
Just unarmed, hand-to-hand combat, super exciting.
All right, going back to when you mentioned the NBA playoffs, because I'm right there with you. I do not like watching the NBA whatsoever unless it's getting down to the playoffs, and normally then I'm still only probably watching the finals.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the NBA compared to college basketball? Which would you, I mean, do you think college basketball is better to watch?
Is it better like regular season wise? Regular season wise, maybe I would say college basketball, and that's just because one, it's a shorter schedule and there's more at stake. There's more at stake in college basketball because you have dudes trying to prove themselves to get to the NBA.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if you were to choose between the playoffs as the NBA, then or let's say March Madness, right, where you're getting into the.
It's tough. I would probably still go with the NBA playoffs, and that's only because it's just a higher skill level at that point.
Okay. I think I'm on the opposite end of you there. Is that going off on when you had mentioned that they're trying to prove something, that I think there's more action, and they try to keep things, I guess, more entertaining, right? You're going to get people trying to do more spectacular things.
Oh yeah, the tournament's amazing to watch.
Yeah. Now, are there obviously more blowouts that happen? Yes, because of the way that they seed the teams. But what frustrates me about the majority of all sports is that they're never consistent from when you start playing to the big league, right? So whether that's NBA, MLB, NHL, wrestling, NFL, I don't know if I mentioned that one. And my comment to further elaborate on that is you'll have certain things that you can do in one, at the high school level that you can't do at the college level, and then that you can't do right in
like the professional level.
In the professional level. Thanks. So it frustrates me in that I think there's something to be said for, okay, as a child, you aren't necessarily fully developed yet in both your body and your mind, so maybe trying to comprehend all the rules in the skill set. So a case in point for me would be wrestling. When you are, I believe this goes all the way up through high school, but it might end at middle school. But when you're wrestling, you can't get what's called riding time. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not familiar with wrestling at all.
All right, so if you're maintaining control of somebody's back, for every minute that you are maintaining control, you can get a point then, and that's called riding time. Well, again, going through at least middle school, if not high school, that does not exist. So you can't get that. But then once you hit college level, then that starts, along with a host of additional other ways that you can get points and other rules. And I guess college is kind of where it stops, right? Because what's after college? I mean, nothing, unless you're talking like the Olympics.
Oh, for wrestling? Yeah,
right.
Or you gotta pick up another skill set and go try to fight.
Yeah, right. So I guess it's the same as basketball. I would argue your 3-point line is closer in college than it is in the NBA.
Yeah.
Your shot clock has been different, and I think we have done a part of that as a culture because we wanted more action. So they shortened the shot clock, so there's more offense to go back and forth, back and forth. But it's just frustrating, right? I mean, you should have to live within where it's at the time. At least for college to NBA. I mean, why is the 3-point line different?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm not trying to get off on a tangent. We're talking about you.
Yeah, sure.
Not talking about sports.
I will
here.
say this though: college sports is completely developed to make money. I mean,
which could be a topic for later. Which is should you get paid and so forth, and college sports. Okay. Tell me something that people would find most interesting about you.
Most interesting about me.
Doesn't necessarily have to be a secret or anything. Just maybe something you don't share often or something.
I don't know if anyone's ever met an Italian Korean person, but that happens to be me. I guess that's pretty interesting.
Okay, whose mother or father is on the Italian side?
So both my mother and father are Italian. However, my grandmother is straight from Korea. She was born there. And so my mom's a first-generation American. She's half Korean. Okay.
It is interesting.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting for the majority of people because they do like to try to play that game of like, what makeup are you, right? I mean, a lot of people like to do that. I wonder what he is, or I wonder what she is. So, okay, half Italian, half Korean.
Well, I'm German and Irish too. It's thrown in the mix. A little. That's like a quarter of me, but yeah, for the most part, predominantly Korean Italian.
I don't see too much of your angry side, the Italian side.
Well, I used to be like a super angry child, and
which explains why you had to go to Florida.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but no, I don't like being angry anymore. It's bad, man.
If you had to choose between the two styles of food, which one are you gravitating towards?
Oh, fuck, man. I think
your last meal.
I think me living in Korea gave me a different appreciation for Korean food. So I'd probably say Korean food.
Korean food?
Yeah.
I think I would choose Italian, but I'm mostly German, so I guess that's irrelevant. Currently in the military. We'll leave it at that. How long have you been in, though?
4 years.
What did you do before? What was your previous job before you joined?
Yo, I never had a real job.
Never had a real job.
Yeah,
so all your shit was under the table?
Yeah, that's why when I was like, yo, I've never done an interview before, I've done an interview once in my life, and that was with the recruiter. I worked construction when I was 14. I did gutters and shit, and that's when I knew. I was like, man, I'll never fucking work construction or anything like that.
I presume did you attend college?
No.
Okay. Anybody in your family in the military?
My grandfather on my mom's side was in the military, and then my grandfather today, who is my grandfather because of marriage, served in the military as well.
Okay, so it's
my uncle, actually, holy shit, yeah, my uncle served in the military too.
All right, so it would be fair to say that you didn't necessarily have a direct influence from a family member to get you to join.
No, absolutely not.
All right, and I think you were about to go into it before I asked the question. Why did you decide then to join?
So when everything was transpiring, like me getting out of high school, I had lost a bunch of scholarships to actually go to school. I won't exactly touch on why.
Fair enough.
But I lost a bunch of scholarships going to school, so I had to make the decision of going to school and being in debt, or joining the military and then potentially going to school afterwards and not being in debt. So to me, that was a pretty easy decision on my part because I did not want to be in debt. And I also have a little sister who wanted to go to school. So all the money that had been saved for me to go to school, I just gave to her so she could go to school because that's what she really wanted to do. Okay. And then, I joined the military.
Noble. Do you plan on staying in for a career or no?
No, definitely not.
Why not? If you don't mind me asking.
It's kind of, I honestly think of it like free agency.
Okay.
Because I've known that I didn't want to stay in the military almost immediately after I joined. I've been wanting to not be in the military for a while. Okay. So I take it upon myself to network and see what's available for me on the outside. And it's literally going to boil down to, it's like free agency, like who's going to cough up the check at the end of the day. because I'm going to end up staying in the same career field and skill set that I have.
Yeah.
And yeah, to me, it's like free agency. It's, like who has the best offer on the table kind of thing.
Okay. Fair enough. Hey, nothing wrong with getting out when you want to get out. I will thank you for your service when, if and when you decide to get out of that time. Do you have a positive or negative life experience? You can choose either one that has maybe obviously had a meaningful impact on you. Positive or negative life experience?
Yeah. Let's see. I would say.
Or do you want to come back to that one?
I'll give you a negative experience.
Okay.
It's pretty fucked, but yeah, I was abused as a child until I was like 12 years old, and my dad is like he has alcoholism and he's a drug addict, so chalk all that up, and then my parents being split, me going to visit him on the weekends and stuff like that was a very negative situation that I never really took that way as a child. I always thought it was just happening for a reason, and I was never really against what was happening, weird enough.
And that experience, though, obviously I presume has molded you into not wanting to go down that same road.
Oh, yeah, and I would never, that's the thing, I would never wish that didn't happen to me, weird enough. I feel like it was important.
Through bad things, I think can come, it can come.
Yeah, you'll learn a lot of shit about yourself. You put yourself in a fucked up situation.
I agree. Yeah, you got to get knocked down so you can get back up.
Yeah.
You're not married.
Oh, no.
So no kids.
No kids, no marriage, no girlfriend, nothing like that.
What was you don't have to give names, but who was your first love? Or can you explain that?
So I thought I had a first love when I was like, I must have been like 14 or 15. But then like you grow up and you're like, nah, you just wanted to fuck her, that kind of thing. And then like you can't fuck her anymore and you get upset or whatever. Right. But I'd say probably when I was like 19.
Okay. Let me shape the question a little bit differently. Have you felt like anybody's ever gotten away?
Never.
That works for me. Funniest thing that's ever happened to you?
Fuck. I don't know, man. We'll definitely have to come back to that one. I've been through some fucking hilarious situations, and
okay,
definitely things that cannot be disclosed here.
Fair enough. What accomplishments are you most proud of in your life? And this could be from, look, it could be as simple as graduating, right? I mean, because obviously some people say that I was the first one to graduate from high school, or that you have earned some accolade, you've earned some title, reaching some sort of goal, right? Short or long term. Obviously, it's hard for long term because, right? I mean, we're both still young, but
yeah, I don't think that I've hit any accomplishments that I might have set for myself. I wouldn't even like. I'm not saying I'm not proud of myself, but I know that I have a lot more to offer to myself, if that makes sense.
Okay. Do you have a accomplishment that your eyes are set on right now that
it's like super broad, but I can remember being a kid and like telling my mom and shit, like one day, like I'm going to make history. So in whatever form that may be, like,
got it.
I will be somewhere
that's
in history, in a book or somewhere, my name on a building, maybe, I don't know. So like, however it gets chalked up, but I will be in history somewhere.
Well, if they ever make a statue of it, maybe I'll protest to have it taken down.
Oh, yeah. You'll probably be offended of a statue of me, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't say that I'd be offended, but, it was just hashtag listen to other episodes. Whose biggest fan are you? This could be personal, right? So a family member. It could be a celebrity, right? I mean, if you had to say I'm the biggest fan of this person, who would it be? And potentially why? And like I said, you can get cheesy on it, so it doesn't matter if you say, "Oh, I'm definitely a fan of this fighter or of this player."
I'm the biggest fan of myself. No, I'm kidding. I'm probably the biggest.
It's okay to be conceited.
Probably the biggest fan of like real shit, like my mother and my grandfather. And I never would have said that about my mom like 5 years ago. I would have been like, "Oh, fuck that shit. She's whack." But her and my grandfather, and my grandfather's a special person, man. I've never met someone like that. Because the thing is, like, he's my grandfather, but we're not of blood related at all.
So okay, so I will presume to take that as in the things that they instilled in you and the things that that now that you can look back and say, I'm glad that they showed me this or talked to me about that. And it can be the most subtle of things, as I've been there too, right? In that I'm glad I'm glad I had that now.
Yeah, exactly.
Who do you think is your biggest fan?
Fuck. My biggest fan, I always get mad at them, but like my little sisters kind of look up to me a lot.
Okay.
But I would like, I always tell them like, you shouldn't look up to me. You should look up to like, you know, yourself and be your own person kind of thing. You don't want to be like me.
Right.
But yeah, my little, like, especially my youngest sister, she really views me in like this weird light that I don't know how she could see that in me. But it's interesting. I feel like some of my friends even look up to me too, which is weird. But
I think a lot of that goes back to, I suppose, sort of what you were saying, right? On that you are the biggest fan of your mother and your grandfather, and that so your younger sisters look up to you, right, and see things that you may not see now, right? Or you wonder like why? Like,
yeah, why
is that?
Why would
so
you view me in that light?
your mind now is right of the adult mind, and now they are well, if you don't mind me asking, how old are they?
My little sisters are 18 and 21.
Okay, so I was thinking a little bit younger, so that was that's why I asked the question. But you kind of see, you know, like, I mean, not only are you talking now a different sex, but their mind is working and operating obviously completely differently. So who knows? There may be a reason why, right? Something comes along in the future, and maybe they'll, you know, something will happen, and it'll be like, I'm glad that I saw you do this or do that, or you told me about that. So ain't nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
What do you like to do in your spare time?
In my spare time, as of late, I've been shooting a lot, shooting my guns. I work out consistently. I've worked out consistently since I was like 16. That's something I've never given up on since I was 16. So that's like a huge part of my life.
For health reasons, aesthetic reasons.
So when I was like younger, it was for aesthetic reasons, because like that's like just being a douchebag kind of thing.
Okay.
Straight up. Like, and then as I've gotten older, I don't really go towards that as much. I like, because I love working out so much that I want to be able to do it for such a long time.
Okay. Yeah.
So longevity is definitely my approach at this point. I cook a lot. I love to cook. Watch fucking TV shows like any other person does and shit.
Yeah.
I think of shit to talk about on this podcast with you guys. I fucking play sports with my friends quite often. And then obviously we work.
That's true. Yeah. Well, got to pay the bill somehow.
Yeah.
What is your greatest fear?
My greatest fear.
I mean, worried about failing? Are you worried about an animal?
No,
right?
I'd never be worried about failing. I think my biggest fear would just be falling into that same realm that like my father did and not actually being a father. That's probably my greatest fear.
Got it. Okay. That's all good stuff. All right, we're gonna get into a little bit of a speed round here now.
Oh fuck! All right,
it's easy stuff, but first thing that comes to your mind, just blurt it out.
All right.
Okay, so try to take no more than 3 seconds on each one.
No, let's test it out.
Your favorite food?
Korean barbecue.
Favorite type of music?
Hip hop and R&B.
Your favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Your favorite book?
I don't read.
Your favorite TV show?
Right now, House of Cards.
What turns you on?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite curse word?
Fuck.
What profession would you like to try other than your own?
I wish I could be like a professional athlete. That'd be sick.
What is something that... speed round's over. What is something true that almost nobody agrees with you on? So something that you must always argue about, but you know, like, you are dead to right. Like, this is it.
Fucking just having a good work ethic. I feel like there's a lot of people that don't understand the importance of that.
I would agree with that. So what do you try to tell somebody then that I guess argues with you, you know, on that? And that, look, I'm only here just to get a paycheck. whatever. I mean, so then do you try to start going down the road of, well, if you have a better work ethic, you could potentially move up on the employment ladder, get a better paycheck
too. And I try to preach, because I'm the person, like, obviously, like, I don't want to be where I'm at with my job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I come in and be a shitty worker and just collect my paycheck. That I try to do it more without speaking.
Okay.
As it's like, I fucking hate where I work and what I do, honestly, just given the situation. But I never slack on my job or not take opportunities that are offered through it.
Okay. No, I can agree with you in that wherever you are, yeah, just be a good person. Like, just do the right thing.
Yeah.
There's doing nothing will not get you any farther, right? Then obviously, yeah, at least just doing what you should be doing. And if anything, right, I think we would argue that when you don't do what you do, it just hinders you.
Well, yeah, and you hurt the team at that point too. You hurt the team.
Right. Yes, I agree with that. Do you have any pets?
No, I don't. I was literally just talking to you about going to get a kitten from a lady, though.
We were talking about that right before we started this interview.
Yeah. I mean, where I live at with my roommates, though, like, he has a dog, and it's kind of like my dog. I mean, I help take care of it.
Yeah.
She's a chocolate lab. She's pretty cool.
I don't think I'm necessarily surprised that you'd want to go get a kitten.
Oh, no, dude. You know me. Come on.
Right. Yeah, I do know. Okay, so I'm going to ask you one last question then, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. So out of all the things that we talked about, so you can't hit back, you cannot come back to those. So tell me something else about yourself that you would like the listeners to know, or maybe a favorite quote, something on that line that if you could leave a right, like that lasting piece, like if they remember this interview, I want them to remember this about Will. Or you could say pass, and we can come back to this later.
I don't want to pass, but I just don't know what to say. I think... fuck, I'm going to have to pass. I can't even fucking think of it.
Hey, it's no worries, right? Ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, maybe there is nothing else. Like, hey, look, we'll come back to it later.
Wait, real quick. I like what you did with the rapid round there. You asked, like, really, really easy questions at first, and then you just kind of you just threw it, and then you're like, what turns you on, man? Like, just trying to... But you're just fishing, dude. I like that, and I'm interested to see what the other guests, what happens to them, because that was pretty fucking funny, and it caught me pretty off guard.
Well, look, I'm here for you and the listeners. If you like what you have heard, find us on Twitter at ViewsandFacts. You can also find us on Facebook at ViewsandFacts as well. If you want to get a hold of Will, you'll have to send your comments and your suggestions through one of those two means.
Maybe we'll post like my Instagram handle or something on Twitter or something. I don't know.
Yeah. We may do that later. We'll see how it goes. Right, to see if anybody's actually interested in you or not. Because if not, there ain't no point in clogging up the feed.
Yep.
Right? I mean, those are ones and zeros that I can preserve.
I would have to agree with you.
No, we'll try to get your information out. That way, yeah, if people want to see what you've been up to, or whatever pictures, follow, yada yada yada. I don't have an Instagram account, so I'm not exactly sure how that works. I know
my Instagram is like, it's just me traveling and being fucked up with my friends for the most part.
Hey, and you know what? People like to see it. It's a.
I do travel a lot, so there's a lot of shit going on, but
yeah, it is it's an electronic photo album, right? That anybody has access to. So, good stuff. So we're going to close this out then. Again, thanks for listening. We were just wrapping up an interview with Will, who is on the show quite regularly. And if you want him to be back on or talk about a specific topic, again, just hit us up and let us know. This was Thomas John with Your Views, My Facts. Take care.